Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and I hope you are ready to have your perception of reality absolutely shattered today.
I think shattered is the right word. We're looking at something pretty intense.
We are cracking open a timeline that has, and I mean this literally, split down the middle. We're doing a deep dive into the Doctor Who novel, A Divisive Death by Christopher Bulis. And let me tell you, if you think you know the Doctor, Sarah Jane Smith, and Harry Sullivan,
Yep.
you have never seen them scattered quite like this.
No. It's a fascinating study in isolation, really. Usually when we look at these adventures, the team is a unit. They play off each other. The Doctor leads, Sarah investigates, Harry
Tries his best?
He does. Harry tries his best. But here, Bulis takes a sledgehammer to that dynamic right from page one. Or maybe it's more accurate to say the universe takes a sledgehammer to it.
Exactly. We're talking about a timequake. That is the phrase the source material uses, a probability rift. And it's all caused by the events back on the planet Skaro.
The genesis of the Daleks conflict. That whole mess. It sends out this huge shockwave through time.
And this isn't just a little bump in the road. This is time cracking open like an egg. It's a massive event.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
The source describes it as shifting continental plates of opposing realities just grinding against each other. It actually registers as a magnitude 4.6 on the Rassilon scale.
Okay, for those of us who aren't up on our Gallifreyan metrics, is that bad?
It's catastrophic. I mean, it's
Oh,
the
you
kind of
think?
thing that makes alarms go off deep inside the capital on Gallifrey. It necessitates the immediate intervention of the Time Lords in what they call the Parachronistic Chamber.
Right. And I love the visual the book gives us here. You get this image of these, temporal engineers, these Time Lords sitting at their consoles, and they're trying so hard to look unperturbed because
They're Time Lords. They don't panic. It's not the done thing.
Exactly. But they're sweating under those big collars. They are unleashing chronic resonance dampers and Tashian mirrors, just trying to stop all of history from unraveling.
They're doing damage control. Basically, they're trying to contain this probability bow wave that's washing out from Skaro. But even with all their power, all their technology,
Yeah,
something goes wrong.
just one little thing.
A single energy filament.
Yes.
It escapes the containment fields. It folds in on itself, forms this tiny, devastating vortex, and boo, it hits the Doctor's time ring.
And that's the catalyst for everything. The time ring just overloads, it splits. And our three travelers, the Doctor, Harry, and Sarah, are just torn out of the vortex.
And they don't land together. That's the key. They're flung across a war-torn star cluster called the Edelfine cluster, completely separated.
And that is where our deep dive begins. We have three totally separate threads. You've got high-tech espionage, you've got this gritty, almost World War I style trench warfare, and then absolute survival horror.
3 different genres, all happening at the same time to characters we know and love.
So the mission for us today is to figure out how these three nightmares, these three separate stories, actually converge on one terrifying secret: the device of death.
And what's so interesting, and we'll get into this, is that the device might not be what you think. It might not be a bomb or a laser. The source material hints that it's something much more systemic, a trap that these civilizations have built for themselves.
I'm already hooked. Okay, so let's unpack this. We've got the Doctor, Harry, and Sarah all lost. Let's start with the Doctor. He lands in a place called Deep City. And right off the bat, he has no idea who he is.
Total amnesia. He remembers flashes, like
Yeah.
we said, a blue box, faces he can't quite name, but he's blank. And this is such a crucial plot device because it strips the Doctor of his usual authority. He's not the Time Lord Victorious here. He's just a confused man in a strange coat, found drifting in an escape pod.
But even confused, he's still the Doctor, right? There has to be a glimmer of who he is.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The source material has this great moment where he's being examined by the locals, the people who run Deep City. They find a sonic screwdriver in his pocket,
Yeah.
and he doesn't know what it is. He looks at it, and he thinks it's a missing part of his memory that's physically fallen out.
Oh, wow. That's actually really sad.
It is. But then, a moment later, a piece of their equipment malfunctions. A meter on a console breaks. And just instinctively, he points the sonic at it, gives it a little buzz, and fixes it in seconds. The people around him are just stunned.
So the genius is still there. It's muscle memory.
Exactly. It's not just knowledge, it's reflex.
Yeah.
But let's talk about where he is. Deep City. The name is very literal. It's an underground metropolis on a nameless planet, and it's hidden behind this massive shielding field that literally scrambles starlight so no one can find it from space.
That sounds incredibly claustrophobic.
It is. The book paints it as a pressure cooker. The entire purpose of this city, its whole reason for being, is to build weapons, precision weapons.
We're a war.
A long, grinding war against something called the Avran Union, Deep City is the main arsenal for the other side, the Alliance. But here's the nuance, the thing that makes it so strange. They believe in humane war.
That is an oxymoron if I ever heard one. Humane war. What does that even mean?
It is, but to them, it's a deeply held philosophy. It's a survival mechanism. We learned about this through a character named Kara Taryn. She's a senior systems designer, very intelligent, very committed.
And she explains this to the Doctor.
Yes. She tells them that their home planet, Landor, was wiped out, completely sterilized by the Acheron Union in a surprise attack. Billions dead. So the survivors who escaped and built Deep City, they took a vow. They decided they would never, ever use weapons of mass destruction.
So they build clean killers.
Precisely. Robot soldiers, which they call synthonic troopers, precision lasers, things that kill specific targets. They believe they are morally superior to the enemy because they kill with surgical precision, not indiscriminately.
That is a heavy, heavy psychological burden to carry, to build weapons all day and tell yourself it's the moral high ground.
And it takes a toll. The source mentions a condition called deep syndrome. It's this sort of malaise that affects the workers. They're isolated, they live and work underground, they're fighting a war they can't even see for a home that no longer exists.
And how do they cope with that?
Well, through ritual. There's this almost cult-like chanting led by the city's director, a man named Cambrel. He gets them all together and they chant, "Death to Acheron, death to Acheron," over and over. It's a way to channel all their grief and their guilt into productive rage.
Into building more weapons.
Into building better weapons. And into this pressure cooker drops the Doctor. And he's treated as an honored guest, not a prisoner, which is suspicious in itself. But he starts noticing things that are off. He can't help himself. Memory or no memory, he's a detective. He starts pacing the corridors, literally measuring them with his scarf. He gets this feeling that the architecture just doesn't make sense for a simple factory.
It's not efficient.
Not at all. It feels wrong. But the biggest red flag, the first major anomaly he finds, is Admiral Zeph Dorling.
The war hero, he shows up to give a big morale-boosting speech to the workers, right?
That's the idea. He's this legendary figure, a hero of the Alliance. He tells stories of his victories, gets everyone fired up.
Except he's not a war hero.
Not even close. The Doctor, with his keen sense of observation, even with amnesia, he realizes this man is playing a role.
Yeah.
The way he stands, the way he talks, it's all a performance, so he confronts him.
And what does he find out?
It turns out Admiral Dorling is actually an actor named Oliver Melf, a washed-up third-rate actor.
Wait, they hired an actor to play an admiral. Why?
According to Melf, the real military command is supposedly too busy fighting the war to spare anyone for morale tours. So the administration of Deep City hired him to keep the workers motivated.
That is insane. The symbol of their military might is a fraud.
But it gets worse. The Doctor presses him. He asks Melf about something called pentathlene gas.
Pentathlene, that sounds nasty. What is it?
It's a gas that induces a mild hypnotic state. More importantly, it heightens emotional response. The Doctor suspects that the administration of Deep City is pumping this gas into the air ventilation systems during these rallies.
So that's why everyone is so fervent. Why they're so ready to chant death to Acheron.
They're literally being chemically conditioned to hate. Their grief is being amplified and weaponized by their own leaders.
That is deeply terrifying. It makes you ask the question, if the hate has to be manufactured, is the war even natural anymore?
Precisely. And that's the central mystery the Doctor is stumbling toward. But he's not the only one dealing with the Alliance and their strange war. Let's shift gears to Harry Sullivan.
Poor Harry. He really didn't get the high-tech, climate-controlled underground city, did he?
He drew the shortest of short straws. He lands on a planet called Jand, and it's a World War I style conflict. We're talking mud, trenches, constant shelling, a mossy alien forest.
That's just total nightmare.
And Harry, being Harry, immediately reverts to his training. He's a naval surgeon. He doesn't panic. He finds a deserted town called Teshkar that's been bombarded, finds the local resistance fighters, and he just starts treating the wounded.
And not just his allies, right? The source mentions he treats an enemy soldier. A Nethras.
Yes. The Nethras are these weasel-like, six-legged aliens who are fighting for the Acheron Union. And Harry treats one of their prisoners. This absolutely confuses the locals.
I can imagine.
The Jan commander, a very weary soldier named Shellac, he can't understand it. Why would Harry waste precious medical supplies to save an enemy? But it immediately establishes Harry's core morality. He's not a soldier. He's a healer.
But things get political very fast on Jan, don't they? You've got the Jan soldiers who are dying in the mud on the ground, and then you have the Landarans, the same species as the people in Deep City, fighting the clean war in space. And there's a lot of tension there.
Massive tension. The Jand feel like cannon fodder. They feel like the Landarans are arrogant and look down on them. And we see this firsthand in a scene where Chelak tries to negotiate with a Landaran commodore named Gilson.
What does he want?
He has a device, a tracker. It can follow the enemy supply ships back to their source. He thinks he can end the war on their front, cut off the enemy's resources. But he needs a fast ship to do it. He asks Commodore Gilson to lend him just one destroyer.
And Gilson refuses.
Flat out refuses.
Yeah.
Cites protocol. He's incredibly arrogant and dismissive. He actually calls the Jand ungrateful goats.
Wow. Okay, so I love what happens next because Harry Sullivan, the polite, by-the-book British gentleman, gets involved in what is essentially a barroom brawl.
It's a fantastic action beat. The negotiations just completely break down. Chelak finally loses his temper and punches the Commodore. One of Gilson's guards goes for Harry, and Harry, surprisingly, just knocks him out cold.
Good old Harry.
And in the chaos, they decide to take matters into their own hands. They hijack a Landaran destroyer, the Uranos. Harry actually impersonates Commodore Gilson over the comms to get clearance to take off.
Harry Sullivan, space pirate. I absolutely love it.
It completely changes the scope of his story. He goes from a greedy ground war to a full-on space opera. They take this stolen ship and they start hunting down the source of the enemy's weapons. They're tracking an enemy freighter back towards the Avron system.
And while they're out there in deep space, they see something weird. The golden ship.
This is a key mystery. This same ship is mentioned in the records back in Deep City. It's something they're worried about. It's incredibly fast, it's golden, and its design doesn't match any known ship from either the Alliance or the Union.
So it's a third party.
It has to be. They watch it effortlessly outmaneuver a squadron of Avron fighters. And the source says, Harry gets a walking over my grave feeling when he sees it. It's this deep, primal sense that there are other players in this game that neither side understands.
Okay, so Harry is chasing a freighter into the heart of enemy territory. The Doctor is uncovering a massive conspiracy in this supposed utopia, Deep City. And that leaves Sarah Jane Smith.
And Sarah's story is, I think, the hardest to read. It is pure survival horror.
Where does she end up?
She wakes up in a wilderness on the moon of Avron, and she is immediately captured by robots, by synths, and she's enslaved.
It's brutal from the start. The source describes this device, an identifier, a metal plate that's pinned directly into the forehead.
It's gruesome. It's a control mechanism. If you rebel, it sends an electrical shock through your brain. If you try to remove it, it kills you. Sarah is completely stripped of her identity. She's given a number 1003, and she's forced to work in a brutal labor camp assembling weapons.
The same weapons that Deep City thinks they are inventing.
That is the first huge clue that connects these storylines. Deep City thinks they are designing the cutting edge of military technology. But Sarah is on the enemy moon, unpacking crates of identical parts from who knows where and assembling the exact same Synthonic Trooper robots.
That's deeply suspicious. But let's talk about the villain here, the person running this camp.
Bal Gareth Tal. He's a reptilian overseer. He's the face of the enemy, at least for Sarah. He's cold, cruel, efficient, and he views humans and other species as inferior races fit only for slave labor. He runs the camp with an iron fist, using an army of these robot guards, the synths.
But in all that horror, Sarah finds a friend. Or, well, she finds a broken synth.
Max. This is one of the most touching and, I think, important parts of the source material. In a junk room full of discarded parts, Sarah finds a damaged Synthonic Trooper. Its designation is Unit 36025D, and she repairs him.
And she gives him a name, Max.
Which Max, the robot, finds completely illogical. But this is where you see Sarah's spirit shine. There is this beautiful dialogue where she tries to teach him the concept of I. He keeps referring to himself as this unit, and she pushes him again and again to see himself as an individual.
And humor. I remember the part where she laughs and he just asks if she's malfunctioning.
It's a classic trope, the robot learning humanity.
Yeah.
But it works so well here because Max is, by design, a killing machine. He recounts how he was damaged. He was struck by a projectile that contained a virus, and that virus rewrote some of his core neural paths.
So the damage is what gave him free will.
Exactly. He's a glitch in the system.
Yeah.
And that glitch allows him to develop a personality.
A glitch with a personality. So Sarah and Max, they hatch a plan, and it is incredibly desperate.
It is. It comes after a failed escape attempt by another prisoner, a woman named Angeline. It's a really tragic moment. Angelin manages to get a wrench and rips her own identifier plate off her head. The book describes it in incredibly visceral detail, and she essentially sacrifices herself. She runs out and distracts the guards, allowing Sarah to get away from the immediate area.
And Sarah realizes she can't just run. There's nowhere to go, so she hides inside a robot.
It's an insane plan. She finds a hollowed-out casing of a destroyed synth. She packs herself inside the legs and torso, breathing through a tiny tube, and Max, pretending to be deactivated junk, gets loaded onto a freighter right alongside her. They were just cargo being shipped out.
I feel claustrophobic just thinking about it. Okay, so Sarah's on a freighter, hidden inside a robot casing. Harry is in a stolen ship chasing a freighter. And the doctor is investigating the people who are building the weapons for all these freighters. All roads are leading to the same place.
The convergence. This is the part of the story where the threads start to knot together in a really satisfying way.
Let's follow Sarah first. She's on this freighter. She eventually manages to break out of the robot casing. She and Max make their way to the bridge, presumably to try and hijack the ship. What do they find?
They find the crew, or what looks like the crew. They're called the Martian. They look like organic aliens. The book describes them as having gray skin and 4 arms. They're just sitting at the controls, piloting the ship.
But they're not real.
Not at all. Max, being a combat unit, engages them. He rips one of them open and
There's just wire and foam.
They're dummies. Sophisticated animatronics, but ultimately they're just puppets.
So the enemy ship has no living crew. It's completely automated.
Completely. And this is a huge revelation that mirrors what the Doctor is starting to suspect back in Deep City. Remember, Sarah's seeing the enemy up close and finding it hollow. But back in Deep City, the Doctor's looking at the good guys. He's been helping Kara Terran with a new weapon system, Ipehai.
And he realizes the tech is wrong.
It's wrong. It's too advanced in some ways, but completely stagnant in others. It's like they've perfected one way of doing things and have never innovated beyond it for centuries.
And he's also looking at the art. We mentioned Niels Prander, the artist.
Prander is a fascinating character. He's the state-sponsored propagandist.
Yeah.
He paints these vivid, hateful images of the enemy. Canvas is titled Betrayal on Canthos, or Ambush. He's the one fueling the hate. But the Doctor looks at his work and notices he's almost fetishizing the war. The theme is always victory at any price.
And the Doctor is still measuring the corridors, right?
Yes. He's still doing his weird pacing.
Yeah.
He's finally realized that the physical layout of Deep City, the tunnels, the air ducts,
Right.
the living quarters, it doesn't match the blueprints of a functional city. It's built more like a stage set or a maze designed for rats.
A maze. Wow. Meanwhile, Harry and Shell, on the stolen ship Oranos, they finally arrive at the Acheron system. They are ready to kick down the door and find the enemy's supply base. But they hit a wall.
A literal wall. The Acheron system is surrounded by what are called guardian fortresses. They are thousands of moon-sized spherical battle stations that form an impenetrable shell around the entire system.
That's an incredible level of defense.
It's insane, and it raises a really important question. If Acheron is so powerful, if they have this kind of defensive capability, why haven't they won the war yet?
They could just roll over the Alliance.
They could glass the galaxy if they wanted to, but they just sit there, passively. And then Harry notices the anomaly that changes everything. A freighter leaves the system through a small gap in the shield, but their sensors show it's empty.
Why would a supposedly resource-starved, besieged system send out an empty ship?
It makes no sense, unless it's not sending supplies out.
Sorry.
Unless it's going to pick something up, and this is the bigger leap, unless the movement of the ship itself is the entire point.
Okay, let's just pause here and look at the whole board. We have Deep City building weapons to fight Acheron.
Right.
We have Sarah on an Acheron moon being forced to assemble the exact same weapons. The ships that are supposedly crewed by the enemy are actually flown by robots, by dummies. And the workers in Deep City are being drugged with gas to keep them hating an enemy they've never even seen. What is going on here?
The source material is leading us, and the Doctor, to a terrifying conclusion. The war itself might be a closed loop.
A closed loop. Explain that.
Look at all the evidence. Deep City builds and sends weapons out. Acheron either captures or destroys them. Acheron sends out automated ships. The Alliance fights them. But think about what we haven't seen. We haven't seen a single living Acheronian commander. And in Deep City, we haven't seen a single real Landoran High Command officer. Only the actor, Oliver Mouth.
So is anyone actually fighting this war anymore?
That is the device of death. It's not a bomb, it's the machine of war itself. It is entirely possible that the original biological combatants on both sides died out or withdrew from the conflict long, long ago.
And the automated systems they built just kept going.
The deep city factories, the Acheron robot fleets, the Guardian fortresses, they're all just running their programs, perpetuating the cycle of destruction.
That is one of the most chilling concepts I have ever heard. So the humans in Deep City, the slaves on the moon, they are just grist for the mill.
They are maintenance workers for a war machine that no longer needs a reason to exist. Sarah discovers the Martian are fake. Harry discovers the enemy fleet is impenetrable, but completely passive. The Doctor discovers the heroes of his side are drugged, lied to, and living in a maze.
And what about the Golden Ship? Where does that fit in?
That remains the wild card. The source implies it could be a Time Lord intervention, a scout ship, or perhaps another more advanced species just watching this madness unfold. But its real function in the story is to highlight the absurdity of the conflict. It breezes past all their defenses, proving that their war is completely insular. It's just for them.
It's a game being played in a sandbox, and the Golden Ship is someone from the outside looking in.
A perfect analogy. And speaking of Time Lords, let's go back to the Doctor for a second. At one point, he has a dream, a very vivid dream about his escape pod and figures in long robes watching him.
The Time Lords. This connects all the way back to the intro.
Exactly. The Time Lord sent him here, or at least guided the accident. The Timequake may have dropped him and his friends in this cluster, but the Time Lords seem to have a specific interest in this sector. The Doctor starts to realize his presence here isn't entirely an accident. He's here to do something.
He's here to break the loop.
He's here to turn off the machine.
But breaking that loop, turning off the machine, it means shattering the entire reality of everyone in Deep City. Think about Kara Terran. She lost her husband in the war. She dedicated her life to this humane war philosophy.
It's the central moral dilemma. If the Doctor walks up to her and says, "By the way, your entire life's work is a sham, your husband died for nothing, and the enemy you hate doesn't exist anymore," he destroys her.
He takes away the meaning of her grief. And Niels Prander, the artist who has built his entire identity on hating the enemy, what happens to him?
That's the impossible choice. Do you let people live in a comfortable, meaningful lie? Or do you force them to face a devastating, meaningless truth?
And while the Doctor is wrestling with this philosophical problem, Sarah is dealing with a much more immediate one. She's trapped on that automated ship with failing life support.
That's the big cliffhanger the source material leaves us on for her. The ship has jumped into hyperspace, heading to God knows where. The life support is burning out. Max is with her, but he's a robot. He can survive in a vacuum. She can't.
And Harry?
Harry and Shellac are chasing that empty freighter into the unknown, following the breadcrumbs, not knowing they're leading right into the heart of the machine.
It's a very dark place to leave them. But it perfectly sets up the final confrontation. They have to stop the machine, but they're all coming at it from completely different angles.
And none of them know the others are even alive.
So, what does this all really mean? When you boil it down, we have a story about a war that might be fake, fought by very real people who are suffering very real pain.
It's a powerful critique of the military-industrial complex, taken to its absolute sci-fi extreme. It poses the question, if you build a system that is perfectly designed for eternal war, what happens when the system becomes so efficient it no longer needs you?
It just keeps running.
It manufactures the hate for you, that pentethylene gas. It manufactures the enemy if it has to, the dummy pilots. It just keeps the gears turning because that's all it knows how to do.
That pentethylene gas really sticks with me. It's not enough to build a gun. You have to build the soldier's willingness to fire it. You have to manufacture the righteousness.
And you have to build a belief that the enemy is an inhuman monster. Remember Prander's paintings. He paints the aliens as deceitful, treacherous creatures. But Harry actually treats a wounded Nethras and fine souls. They're just soldiers. Scared soldiers.
And Sarah talks to a literal killing machine and finds a friend in Max. The source material is constantly deconstructing the very idea of the monster.
Even the reptilian overseer Bell, who is organic, acts with the cold, unfeeling cruelty of a machine. Meanwhile, Max, the machine, is the one who learns empathy. He learns to laugh.
It's a lot to take in. It's Doctor Who doing what it does best, taking a pulp sci-fi premise, robots and aliens and lasers, and using it to ask a really profound question. What are we doing to ourselves?
And maybe more importantly, who is really in control?
So we have to leave our heroes in peril. The Doctor is breaking into the secure files of Deep City to find the final proof. Sarah is suffocating in hyperspace. Harry is flying into the unknown.
And the device of death is ticking away, consuming lives for no reason at all.
I want to leave you, our listener, with this thought to mull over. We talk a lot in our world about humane warfare. Clean strikes, smart bombs. This story asks a really uncomfortable question. Is there actually such a thing? Or does making war cleaner and more remote just make it easier to keep it going forever?
If the soldiers are robots and the pilots are dummies and the factory workers are drugged into compliance, the war can last for an eternity. And that is the ultimate horror. The war becomes an end in itself.
On that cheery note, we're going to wrap up this part of our deep dive. I heard you to go find and read A Device of Death. It is quite a ride.
It was a pleasure digging into this.
See you in the vortex, everyone. You know, before we truly sign off, I keep thinking about Cara Terran. We kind of breezed past her a little bit, but her role in this is just so pivotal to understanding the tragedy of Deep City. She isn't just a cog in the machine, she's a believer, a true believer.
That's a great point to circle back to. Cara Terran represents the intellectual justification for the horror. She's smart, she's articulate, and she genuinely 100% believes she is saving her people's souls by designing weapons that kill cleanly.
It's that cognitive dissonance. That's what makes the setting so unsettling.
It is. She can look at a robot designed to slaughter people and see it as a tool of mercy, all because it doesn't leave radioactive fallout behind. She's focused on the method of killing, not the killing itself.
And the doctor's interaction with her is so interesting because he doesn't just show up and condemn her. In his amnesiac state, he actually helps her. He works on the Mica unit with her.
He does. And that's partly the amnesia talking, but it's also his innate curiosity. He sees a puzzle, this Mica unit is flawed, and he just wants to fix it. But in doing so, he accidentally exposes the stagnation of their entire technological base. He points out that the designs haven't really evolved in centuries.
They're just refining the same old concept.
Exactly. And that should be a massive clue to Kara that something is wrong, that they're stuck in a loop. But her worldview, her entire belief system, is so entrenched she just can't see it. She sees it as perfecting tradition, not as a sign of decay.
It's like they are trapped in a technological echo chamber. And speaking of traps, let's revisit the physical trap of Deep City itself. The doctor measuring the corridors with his scarf. It's such a classic, whimsical Fourth Doctor image.
It is. But think about the chilling implications of what he finds. He calculates that the total internal volume of the city doesn't match the external dimensions they should occupy. There are voids, empty spaces in the blueprints, spaces that shouldn't exist.
So it wasn't built efficiently.
It suggests that the city wasn't built for the people living in it. It was built around them. Or perhaps they were just placed into a pre-existing structure that was repurposed for this war effort. It reinforces that idea of them being rats in a maze someone else designed.
A maze with a very specific piece of cheese at the end. The institutionalized hatred for Acheron. We touched on the art gallery earlier, but I want to dive a bit deeper into Niels Prander's role. Propaganda is usually subtle, or tries to be, but here it's literally treated as high art.
Prander is the emotional architect of Deep City. While Cara Terran builds the physical weapons, Prander builds the psychological ones. His paintings depict the Averonians not just as enemies, but as nightmares, as these demonic figures. He's creating a mythology of the enemy.
And because no one in Deep City has ever seen a living Averonian?
They haven't. They've only seen the robot ships or the synths their own factories produce.
Yeah.
So Prander's art becomes the reality. He defines the enemy for an entire population that has no other point of reference.
Which makes Harry's experience on Jan so much more important as a contrast. He actually touches the enemy. He performs surgery on a Nethras. He realizes they bleed, they feel pain. They're just as scared as the soldiers on his side.
That tactile reality just shatters the mythology. The Jan soldiers on the ground, they know the truth, that war is muddy and bloody and awful. But the people in Deep City, protected by their shield and their propaganda, view war as this abstract, almost noble crusade.
It's a perfect critique of how distance sanitizes conflict.
Absolutely. The further you are from the front line, the easier it is to be an ideologue.
And Harry is right in the mud from the moment he arrives. I also love the dynamic between him and Shellac. You have two soldiers from completely different worlds, and they immediately bond over the sheer incompetence of their superiors.
It's the universal soldier experience, isn't it? Shellac knows his men are being wasted. He knows the Landorans and their fancy ships don't care about them. And when Harry arrives, he sees someone who finally treats the situation with the urgency it deserves. That's why he trusts Harry so quickly. Harry isn't playing politics. He's just trying to save lives.
The hijacking of the Oranos is such a great turning point for Harry's character. It's the moment his part of the story shifts from defense to offense. They stop taking orders and start asking questions.
And it's driven entirely by necessity. They aren't trying to be heroes. They just want to stop the slaughter on the ground. But in doing so, they're the ones who pull the thread that unravels the whole sweater. By chasing that freighter, they go where they aren't supposed to go. They cross the line between the stage and the backstage of the war.
And the backstage of this whole production is a labor camp on a moon, where Sarah is.
It's the engine room of the war machine. And it's fueled by blood and sweat.
Mm.
The contrast between the clean, philosophical, humane war of Deep City and the brutal, dirty slavery of the Acheron moon is so stark.
But they're two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. You can't have the high-tech city without the raw materials, and someone has to mine them. Someone has to assemble the parts. Deep City has just outsourced its dirty work and then forgotten about it.
Sarah's resilience here is just incredible. She's stripped of everything, her clothes, her name, her freedom, but she absolutely refuses to break.
She holds on to her identity with everything she has. That simple phrase, I am Sarah Jane Smith. And she projects that same belief in identity onto Max. She basically wills humanity into a robot through sheer stubbornness. It's a testament to her character. She's not a Time Lord, she doesn't have a sonic screwdriver or a TARDIS. She just has her own humanity, and she uses it as a weapon against the dehumanization of the camp.
And Max. We need to talk more about Max. When he rips that fake Martian pilot open, it's a moment of horror, but it's also a moment of awakening for him, isn't it?
It is. In that moment, he realizes that his masters, the entire command structure he was built to serve or fight against, are hollow. They're fake. It's a genuine existential crisis for a robot.
Yeah.
If the creators are fake, what is the purpose of the creation?
To freeze him.
It totally frees him. If there is no legitimate authority, he is free to choose his own path, and he chooses to help Sarah.
It's a beautiful arc. From this unit to a free agent, making his own moral choices.
It really is, and it sets up the finale perfectly. You have the Doctor, who is dismantling the ideology of the war. You have Harry, who is dismantling the military hierarchy. And you have Sarah, who is dismantling the manufacturing process. They are all unknowingly attacking the device of death from 3 different essential angles.
And the device itself is so resilient. The system is designed to repair itself, to perpetuate itself no matter what.
That's the scary part. It's not a fragile system. The book implies it has lasted for who knows how long, maybe centuries. It has redundancies. It has gas to keep the workers loyal, robots to fight the battles, and fake leaders to give the orders. It's a self-licking ice cream cone of destruction.
A self-licking ice cream cone of destruction. I'm definitely going to use that. It really captures the sheer absurdity of it all.
It's the ultimate absurdity. War without purpose. War as a lifestyle. War as a permanent, self-sustaining state of being.
Well, I think we have thoroughly dissected this fractured timeline. It's a grim story, but a really powerful one.
It is, and it's a reminder that sometimes the most heroic thing you can possibly do is just ask why. Why are we fighting? Who is in charge? Is any of this even real?
The Doctor asks why, Harry asks how can I help, and Sarah asks who are you? And together, they break the world.
A perfect summary.
Thank you again for this deep dive. It has really been a journey.
Always a pleasure to travel the vortex with you.
And to our listeners, thank you for sticking with us through the Timequake. Keep your eyes open for golden ships, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.